Hey, Tackle and Tinnies listeners, welcome back. Ryan is away, so it's your boys, Chris and Andy this week.
How we
Um,
doing?
it's round 18. Obviously, it's the final bye round. There's been like so much injury carnage, along with Jacob Kira has been annoyingly caught up to New South Wales 18th man. I think teams are going to struggle to field 13 this week. I think and beyond. I reckon. Obviously, like and subscribe for this podcast. Smash a like for like YouTube. I don't know, True Social. Bebo, MySpace, wherever you get your social media, Spotify.
TikTok.
Today,
TikTok's the big one. Follow on the TikTok.
yeah, TikTok, yeah. You can see how old I am, Andy.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, we're the same age.
The, the generation's past me.
Yeah, that's right. Ryan's all over it.
Yeah, look, today we're going to talk round reviews. We'll talk about origin squads, trade targets, how many trades are a few trades. Is it 7? Is it 8? Is it 14? We'll talk best fullbacks probably for the run home. And then we'll probably also talk about captaincy options, which are going to become increasingly important. Andy, I don't think we've seen you on this podcast since about round 5 or so. How's your season been going? How have you been?
So, I was going really well from round 5 after a bit of a slump over, you know, over the last 5 weeks. I was kind of charging towards, top 1%, and then the the second buy kind of killed me a little bit. I only had 13, and 13 for the buy didn't really cut it with a few really bad scores, scored under 1,000, which was, under par, dropped a bit. And then again last week, poor captaincy choice dropped down a bit. So I was going really well, and just a couple bad rounds. Just it's really easy to lose it. Unfortunately, it takes you so long to make it up, and within a matter of minutes, it's all gone. So in a bit of a scramble at the moment, trying to figure out what I'm looking at for my end run and this next buy. Once I get through the buy, I think, the next stage will be interesting.
Yeah, fair. Where you ranked overall, approximately?
I dropped to, I think I dropped to 9,600.
Cool. So still top 10, still top 10%.
Yes, but I was
Yeah,
at 5,000, so
yeah,
it's,
true.
it's been a long drop.
Oh, look, I mean, Andy, I totally get what you mean. I got up to 199s at some point, and it's just been red arrows. It's all been downhill since. I scored 1367 this week, and I'm at 2009 overall. It was a pretty good week for me this week. I totally get what you're saying in terms of just bad captaincies. 2 weeks ago or 2 or 3 weeks ago, I captained Drinky for like 33, and then a few before
Yeah,
that 14. And
and
this
you
week I
captained
went
him
back to
last
the
week.
Drinky well. Yeah,
You just got to keep drinking water.
yeah, yeah. Third time lucky. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
been 34. Yeah,
glutton for punishment. Well, drink water. Interestingly, is one of the ones that I don't own, and obviously this week, I've been getting away with it because I didn't have him and he wasn't scoring well. And this week, versus the Titans, obviously, absolutely decimated. Of injury ridden, Tom Weaver, all of that. Just not a very good Titan squad at the moment, and just poor defensively. And Drinky just ran around them.
yeah. Especially that second try he had. There was like a massive hole. It was one off the ruck, and he just dives right through, like untouched as well. But I look, man. Again, I know what you're saying. I faded Herbie, and since round 14, he's gone 105, 150, 106. Like he's like a 915k. Like I don't know. I don't get it. How can you be that good looking and that good at SuperCoach, man? Like fantasy, like it's just unfair. Some people just win the lottery.
I would have no idea. Yeah, no idea.
So
British
look,
accent as well, doesn't he?
what'd you say? Sorry,
He's got a British accent as well.
I know. Free from free.
He's got all
He's
of
got
it.
it all.
He's the whole package. Um,
Okay, look, we'll briefly talk Game 3, Origin team lists have come out. Queensland versus New South Wales and Sydney. Before we talk SuperCoach, Andy, do you want to talk about Queensland? Obviously, the main things. Hammer to fullback, Mr. Japan, Gamut Shibasaki. He's left center. Big Papa, Josh Papa Lee. He's starting as well at prop. Reece Walsh extended squad. You liking it? You liking your chances for Queensland?
Always nervous against a stacked New South Wales squad. You just look at the New South Wales side and you're just like, oh my God, I have a pit in my stomach about how are we going to do this? I don't mind the inclusion of some of these young guys. They come out, they've got something to prove, they really want to be there. But is it going to be enough against Stephen Crichton, who, has kind of, in my eyes, reached another level of SuperCoach or even just playing this year? He's made himself not just a defensive player. He's now also this offensive, tackle busting, gun. He can just do it all now. So just, is it going to be enough against Stephen Crichton? Who I'm not sure, but it'd be good to watch. The Hammer at fullback. Look, I don't mind it. He had a great game over the weekend. But he also, started the season really poor as well. For me, I would have loved to see Reece Walsh in there. I just think he's electric. Especially just his pace and what he can add to a squad. He just kicks it up a notch. But obviously, Billy doesn't think he's up to it at the moment. I know Billy really likes Walsh, so I think cautiously, he's selected so he's not going to be worried about injury. I'm not sure, but yeah, I would have loved to see Walsh there. But I think the rest of the squad is pretty much copy and paste what we've always done, with the two new guns in the centre. I really like seeing Kurt Mann at 14. I think he was super impactful last game. Yeah, those are my big kind of two.
Yeah, no, look, I echo a lot of your sentiments. I think it's a great squad. I think in Billy you trust. I'm very nervous, even though, I agree. On paper, we look fantastic. But, game 3, Queensland spirit comes out. We somehow will manage to lose it again. I'm thinking to myself, look, surely we can't, give away another 8-0 opening half penalty count. I can't see us losing it, but we could. I'm so glad that Reece Walsh isn't playing. When you talk about people with players who can just break the game open, Reece Walsh, he's right up there, so. But I agree with that, Hammer, that he gave Billy little choice. He scored 4 tries last game, so yeah. For New South Wales, obviously mostly unchanged, as usual. Justice for the bag man, Terrell May. What does he have to do to get picked? But obviously, I was a bit annoyed at Kiraz getting called an 18th man. Obviously annoying for SuperCoach. I know he's covering for Toto, but you have Bradman Best, Izzy Qatar. They're all on the bye. Just put one of them as 18th man. Yeah, I think that again on paper we should win, but the issue is whether Laurie picks fit plays. It was just frustrating to see Cleary last game, large as a passenger. Izzy Katoa, he's in the wings. If either him or Luai are unfit, I think you just have to blood him, just like Billy, is blooding Shiba, in my view. Andy, do you have a prediction in terms of score?
Well, I guess my question about the New South Wales squad is, where is Burton?
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't have him in the team when Luai, had that boil, and had to go to hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, both Luai didn't play last week, and Cleary's been nursing a groin thing. Who do you even put in the centres? Does Latrell go into the centres? And then say Cleary goes down, do you move Luai into the 7 and Latrell into the 6, or
Yeah, I suspect that would be the case because obviously Latrell's at
you have Connor Watson center there as well, though.
Yeah, and then Connor Watson slots into the back
great
line.
Utility. Really. He's the big one.
I guess if either Luai or Cleary, we knew that they were injured beforehand and they just weren't going to play him. I think they're just going to play Katoa. He's so good going to his left, as you know, that whole Dolphins, left left side is so good, but he's also lethal on the right as well, which, as a halfback. So I think he can go either way, and I think he could cover both Cleary and Luai, and I guess that's why he possibly is in the team, with Moses
Who was
now.
this? Sorry,
Izzy Katoa, Isaiah
was he in
Katoa.
the team?
Yeah, he got caught up along with Jack. Is it Jack Williams? Did Adam Dewey get caught up as well? I can't remember.
he's never left. He got called. He got called up into the first Origin camp and just been hanging around.
Yeah, what did Ryan say? He's delivering the Uber Eats.
But he had a great weekend. Like all ribbing over Adam Dewey aside. Like he's a great half.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed him. And obviously we'll talk Tigers a little bit later. We talk trade targets because they will be playing the Roosters this week, and we are very depleted. Talking about depletions, of his injury carnage as well. I'll just very briefly rattle for a few players who should have been playing this weekend, or people hoping would be playing. Luke Metcalf, ACL, he's done for the season. Nathan Lawson, shoulder blade fracture, he won't be this weekend. Toby Couchman, he's done his shoulder, he's going to need surgery. Kalen Ponga, Liz Frank injury, which is a mid-foot sprain. That's 4 to 6 weeks. And with that, that's the night season over. Hamish Stewart, did he get I think he got a Cat 1 or injury, HIA or something like that. And then obviously Appy Coruscant, or as Andrew Moore on ABC Grandstand likes to call him, Coruscant. He also had a Cat 1 HIA, so he'll miss the Roosters game. Shout out to Jakey, who pretty much had all these players, and he's gone from having like 16 players to like 10 this week. So tears for Jakey, our podcast co-host.
Someone's going to be cursed. Someone has to be cursed. Glad it's not me.
Okay, well let's talk trade targets. I think the juiciest matchups this week, Andy, Melbourne Storm versus the Queensland Cowboys. North Queensland Cowboys. The Cowboys, as you know, they've got multiple personality disorder. They'll be amazing for 20 minutes, and then they'll just have 5 unforced errors in the next 10. And then obviously the Roosters versus the Tigers could be an absolute Tigers massacre. We're missing half of our first grade team, as we talked about Appy, Luai, Buller, Fanua, Bole. Yeah, it could suck a little bit. Andy, I'm going to list about 4 or 5 players, top 4 traded in. You tell me if you're interested or not, or whether they're just absolute traps for young players. Mark Nawanga-Nidawaze, 633K. He's the number 1 most traded in. He's averaging 74. Jacob Preston, he is the 2nd most traded, 690K, averaging 74. 17% owned in the top 10%. The 3rd most traded, Jed Stewart, absolute cheapie at 198K. And then finally, your boy, Jerome Hughes. He's finally delivered. 4th most traded in, fresh off 133, 682K. Do you think any or all of these 4 players should be bought by people listening this week, Andy?
There's definitely benefits to, all of these players. Starting from the top, like Marky Mark, he's proven like on that wing. I'm assuming that's where he's staying. He's got the skills, he's got the talent, he's got the flair that like he can be seen as a season keeper. I guess the thing is, like, who do you get to him from? Is it worth paying up for him, or I guess who are you letting go? In my mind, there's a few CCW targets that I want to hit. And for me, I've thought about trading him in this week. But for me, at the moment, I'm not trading him in just because I want to make sure I have the funds for certain other positions. Like I really need to clean up my hooker. Tuaref is getting a bit light with a few injuries and just things like that. So at the moment, he's a no, but I completely understand anyone that trades him in. I think he is a good buy.
Yeah. Preston,
exactly the same thing. Look, if you have someone that you can go directly sideways from him to that, like could be going out, like like maybe like a Tina or a Haas, but have you missed the boat on being able to trade them out as well? Um, I think Preston's a gun. I think I don't mind him with a few tough matchups because I think they really kind of like push him to run harder and they play through the middle a bit more. So I like Preston as a buy. Broncos followed by North Queensland, followed by St George. Like I can't see why not buy him. Same thing though, it comes down to funds and do you see him as a season keeper? If you see him as a season keeper, absolutely. Um, he's definitely a buy.
Yeah, look, with Marky Mark, I think he's a luxury buy at CTW. Like I reckon, a lot of squads they've got Herbie, Kiraz, Garrick, and they might even want Lomax or Val Holmes. That's at five, five gun CTWs,
Yeah.
and but he does crazy intangible stuff. But I think you buy him if you think he's a season keeper or something like that. We're so low on trades, it's hard to buy these guys who are who might go bad good, but if they go badly, then you're stuck with them for the rest of the year. Jacob Preston, I agree with you as well. I think it's a good thing to have like a pod or two. If you don't have a pod yet, like I think most people have, Dylan Lucas, Eli Katoa, Keon Kalamatangi, and also Tino in their second row. So if you don't have a pod, I don't think Jacob is actually a bad go. He
I
plays
currently
like
have Hoskins. I'm not sure if Hoskins is a pod or not, or just
yeah. I think
it's
it's
held
hard
him
to
long enough
sell
for him to
Hosking
turn good.
this week because he plays round 18. Yeah, he plays this week, so he's hard to trade this week specifically. Yeah.
I think for me, the last two, Jed Stewart, I understand why people are buying him. Um, just he's dirt cheap, and this will be his like third game.
Yep.
Don't really see him gaining any value. And of his two games he's played so far, he's scored 45 and 44. Um, for me, it's not worth the trade for someone that's probably I'm never going to play except for this week. And for someone that, in an AE situation where you're playing someone off your bench, I don't want that, 44 or 40 points. Because what did the Raiders win last week?
Um.
22-18. Okay, so it wasn't a massive win, but still in 22. And didn't he score a try as well?
Yeah. No, he scored a try in each. His base is absolutely dreadful. Like I agree with you, man. Like AE nightmare is what you're asking for if you buy Jet Stewart. I think you should just literally buy any nuff
So,
at all at 198k. Don't touch
well, I
him.
guess that brings in, the option of Kane Bradley.
Yeah.
I think that's a better look at a cheap enough dual 2RF that you can move around. I'm assuming he's covering for Liera. I'm not sure. What's his position and is he security?
Well, in the first game or two, he's played the wing, but I think he is starting this week, and I think he could be wing again. I can't remember. I did have a quick look at Team List Tuesday.
Is he
Um,
playing for Coates then?
I think I think it could be either that or it was for Longo. He's also out with a hamstring injury.
Oh
So
right, okay.
yeah, so
Well,
they need two. They need two wingers this week, basically
right.
the Storm. Yeah,
Okay, because I did see Joe Chan in there as well.
yeah,
So
he's at center. So I reckon Bradley's at playing one of the wings this week. Yeah,
okay, and then Anderson is moving to wing then.
yeah, I reckon so. That would make sense. Yeah.
Okay, so if Farlongo is out, Kane Bradley, in my eyes, would be a far better cheapie to buy if you are looking to move someone and free up some cash. And then with that dual position, and if he loses his spot, he's also dirt cheap.
Yeah, yeah,
But in like a really strong Storm side, no more buys. He's good for the rest of the season if he's in.
yep,
So if I was looking for a cheapie, I wouldn't. Jed Stewart wouldn't be it. It'd be Kane Bradley.
yep. I
Um,
like that. I like that. For the extra 35k that you get for him, you get that dual CT dub 2RF. It's just so valuable. You can move him and Lucas up and down, whatever you want. I like that as well.
There's a lot of freedom
Um,
when it comes to injuries as well.
yeah. And then finally, Jerome Hughes. Do you reckon he's a must buy this weekend against the Cowboys, Andy? I know you've ranted about him a few times on our chat.
Look, is this the comeback of Jerome Hughes? Is this the finals run of him making back to back halfback of the year? I don't think so. However, I would love to see it. 2 games scoring greater than 100. In every other week, he's scored 45, 32, 41, 51. He scored a 76. That was his next best game. And yeah, I don't think he has it in him to, you know, put another ton. If you have thought about buying Harry Grant as your hooker, I would be avoiding Hughes and I would just be waiting and getting someone else. If it's the Metcalf money, I'd be waiting and buying someone else. You can get like Dearden or someone for a nice home run stretch. That being said, Cowboys have a bit of a tough run. Yeah, I would be getting it someone and diversifying my spine. If you were thinking about getting Grant, because if Storm go bad, then you're in trouble. And it comes back to, where is the ball going? A lot of the season it's been coming through Pappenhausen, whereas now Pappenhausen saw nothing and Jerome Hughes went off, but that was rare. So for me, I wouldn't buy Hughes. He had a great game and he has the potential, but I just think the ball is still going through Pappenhausen. I think with possibly a dry track up in Queensland, I think they still get away with it. And I think a lot of the ball is going to come through Paps again.
Yep. Yeah, I like that that financial advice there, to diversify and not, don't put all your stocks in the one basket. So basically, listeners, I think Andy's saying, look, if you're a Metcalf owner, probably don't be patient. Don't swap to Hughes this week. Consider something else, like a Grant, like a Tom Dearden, like a Nathan Cleary, in round 19 or so, which is interesting. I like that. Do you have any trade targets in particular that you think people need to have, that must be a must have this week? Teddy, Eli Katoa, or are these guys, you expect they should all be been bored, and if not, you should just delete the app.
Never delete the app. Go down with the ship, as always. As far as anyone that I think you need to have, that's interesting. I think Tedesco is the first one that kind of like really pops into my mind as, big matchup this week. Decimated
against the Tigers. Yep.
Decimated Tiger squad, unfortunately. He has the most potential to kind of go off. Do you need him? I don't think so. And it all comes down to what your team's looking like at the moment. All of these people like Tedesco, your Kaloma-Tungis, they're all expensive. And what are you trading to get this person in? Like, are you losing out? Is it worth the trade? Are you going to get whoever you just traded out back in? I think if you want to sit on Teddy for, the season, which, I've sat on Teddy for most of the season now, absolutely, because I think he is a really consistent player. But is he a must-have? I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I mean, Andy, it sounds like you're saying, hey, maybe not a must-have this week. We'll talk a little bit later when we talk about fullbacks that run home, and we'll talk about whether he's a must-have for the end of season as well.
I do think, however, I'm just going to put this in there. If you are going to buy Teddy, you should buy him this week.
Yeah. I do like what you're saying as well. Our other co-host, Adam, he always talks about, in a vacuum, yes, buy this player. But he says that often when you're buying players, you're not usually just buying the one player. You're usually buying two players, really. The one that, because usually it facilitates one player goes up and one player goes down. You're downgrading for one player. So it's a two players. Will they, beat the score of the other two players that you're trading out? So it makes a lot of sense is what you're saying. And I think that actually reflects why not many players are must-haves really, because you can always get away without something because if it facilitates something else, really. Fine. Well, look, I guess we'll probably also talk about, trades for the run home. I currently have 8. I'm probably using 0 this week. And I guess the question is, how many trades is too few trades? And if you've got 8, should you be concerned? I'll go first, Andy. I think it really honestly, it depends on your team. Don't let other people, tell you, oh, if you've got 14, if you don't have 14, you're done for. Because at the end of the day, it's all about, just getting your best 18 on the park and you want 18 guns. Like if you are, I think a better question to ask really is how many guns do you have? For example, if you've got 18 guns, it doesn't matter if you've got 6 trades left because you could hold on all of them because you've got your final team, but rather, if you've got only you're 4 away, 4 guns away and you've got 7 trades left, then, now you're going to only have a max 3 trades if you, take 4 trades to get, all your guns in, really, in my view. I think for players or teams who've, max traded mostly as well, I think it's always better to max trade, early in the season, get to the top 10,000 or so and then play it out. It's going to be really hard, I think, this season, Andy, in my view. If you're coming 20,000, 30,000, and if you've got 14, 15, 16 trades, it's going to be hard to find pods, I think, when everybody's got the same squad, and got a lot of these guns. Thoughts?
I think because I'm so far out of it, I think I'm in kind of a better situation than you are. Whereas I have a little bit of free ability to kind of just, throw it out there and just try and take a bit of risk and like not really take too much care into what happens because I'm not getting near the top. There's no way. Way too far
Yep.
behind. 10,000 in what? 9 weeks. It's not going to happen or less than that. So for me, I'm currently at 11 trades, pre-trades this week. I only have 12 playing. It's a semi-decent 12, but I would like at least 2 more playing this week just for safety reasons because the buys are when you can move the most. In the first buy, I moved up the most, and in the last buy, I moved down the most. And that's the most I've moved all season. So the buys can really change how you are positionally. And if you have a strong team, you don't necessarily have to pull everything apart to get like a heap of numbers, especially with limited trades, because you can see that every single week someone's getting injured. But if you have the ability and you have some trades free, I would be making sure I have a solid team going forward, just even in this buy round. But it also positions you to do well for the rest of the season moving forward. They have to kind of be keepers in my mind.
Yeah. How many
Um,
how many keepers do you think that we need to have in your team this season in order to kind of do well? Do you think it's 18, 16, 20? Like how many nuffs do you think we have to have? Actually, that's another question you could ask instead.
I think you can probably have you can have a few nuffs. It's so hard to say because each season, like you think everything's going well, and then your key player goes down. Um, so I think that as far as season keepers, you don't have to have. I don't know if you necessarily have to have like 18 guns.
Yep.
You have to have a somewhat decent spread. And what I guess I mean by that is you want to have players that are playing consistently, and that you're going to probably be able to plug them in if someone goes down, or players that might get a call up and might get inflated minutes if something happens. The players that have actually been playing. Um, people that are just kind of getting plugged in for now that you have no idea what's happening with them. That's tough, but yeah, it's hard to say. The end run is the thing I probably struggle with the most.
Yep.
And I mean, this is a great Adam question, but yeah, it's hard to say. It's so unknown
Yep.
because there's so much variability in like what's going to happen over the next few weeks. How
Yep.
many injuries do we get from Origin? How many restings do we get from Origin? Or how many injuries do we just get happen during the season? Like I bought Jaden Campbell, and 1 week later he had a HIA.
Yeah.
So it's there's too much variability in this whole thing. So I feel like
True.
you can't just do all nuffs and all guns because you need to be able to rely on
Yep.
your other players.
Are you gonna have more guns in your CTWs or in your front row forward / 2RF? Are you how many? I'll put it this way: how many guns are you looking at for CTW? Again, I know it's a hard question to answer. That's literally what you kind of said a minute ago.
I have, for me, because of where I'm at, I'm not looking so much at who I'm going to buy. I have players that I think would benefit me, but I also am trying to aim for people that are lower percentage owned.
Yeah.
To just mainly just pod the rest of the way, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to make up any ground is by kind of doing when everyone's zigging, I'm zagging.
Yeah, that's interesting. So basically, whether you get 4, 5, 6, or even 7 gun CTWs depends on how low owned people are. Guns are really. For example, if you're finding Lomax is like 40% owned, you're probably just not going to go him, even if you initially were going to go him. That's what you're kind of getting at.
That is a big thought factor.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's a lot of really good CTWs, and we see it every week that
Yep.
anyone can go off. Like even the new like Karapani, like he scored
Yeah.
another
80 or 90 this week. 73, yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely brained it, and he was dirt cheap. So
Yeah.
CTW is one of the ones where I think you can kind of get away with possibly going someone a bit more mid range. But yeah, and it also kind of depends, I guess, on how the team is structured. So for Eels, are they going to rely heavily on Lomax because he's kind of like one of the more marquee players now? Or when Dylan Brown comes back, is he going to play a little bit more and like you're going to see less ball towards Lomax? Once again, it's so hard at this time to tell. It's always just go with your gut and see what feels good.
Yeah. And you were also talking about earlier, one last question here before we move on to fullbacks. You were talking about, hey, you want to clear out space now so that you can get a gun hooker for the or just any type of hooker for the end home run. Run home. What are you thinking? Are you thinking one gun, no guns, 2 guns at hooker? Because it's such a shitty position, really.
It really is. The problem that I have at the moment is I have
Kalani Goings.
I have Goings, yes, and I also have Sandon Smith.
Yep.
Who, in a few weeks, his job security is going to go, and he's going to get reduced minutes. That's just a fact. As far as it comes to hookers, Grant is up there. Unfortunately, I own 3 or 4 bloody Storm players already. So it's hard for me to justify getting Grant. Blake Brayley, very hit and miss. Starling, kind of wish I kept him all season.
Connor Watson?
Yeah, Connor Watson is the big one. It would have been good if he wasn't playing in Origin. And he's got that duel as well. Kurt Donahue. I mean, I talked about him on Messenger a few weeks ago, asking if anyone liked him, and he went and scored a 77. So possibly after this round, he could be a bit of a look in. Same as Jeremy Marshall King. He's dirt cheap at the moment and like looked really good on the track. I don't feel like they're job sharing anymore. Donohue's moved into a more of a 13 role.
Well, I think Donahue will be moving into the 5'8" throw, actually, obviously, because Nicarima's gone down as well. Yeah,
Right.
JMK, obviously, he scored a try for 88 as well, but I think that I can't remember seeing a hook. I obviously, they're not playing this week, but I can't remember. Yeah, I think JMK did play 80 last week as well. So if that is the way going forward, it might be the way to go as well. Yeah, I think Nicarima's out for several weeks too.
Originally in the season, Jeremy Marshall King was job sharing with Plath, was he?
No,
Was
I
Plath
think
playing the 13?
I think Plath was at. I think he was at second row. I think he was probably job sharing either Oren Keeley or like Donahue, I reckon, or something like that. Yeah, yeah. He wasn't getting 80 minutes. I think he was getting like 54, 60 minutes or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, for someone a bit cheaper, Donahue, I taking a bit of a risk, but could go him at 2.6% ownership.
Oh, 100%. Look, at 5'8" as well, like that left-hand side, we talked about it earlier today, the Dolphins, dude, they're absolutely killing it. Absolute monster points. Every game they've scoring 40 to 50 points. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be the Vi. It could be the Vi, seriously.
Well, I guess the big question is with what we're talking about now is if we're talking about the Dolphins go left, is it worth keeping Jermaine Asako?
Yeah. It's a great question. I'm hoping that because I think they give the ball because Nicarima's there and he's so dominant, really. Like, I mean, last season when, Nicarima sometimes would be on the right and they would just literally pass the ball to him on the right. I think he commands the ball very much. This year could tell a bit more, but I think now that maybe there's no basis for this, but now that Nicarima out, maybe they'll just go, oh, we're not as good on the left. There's no second receiver there. We don't believe in Donahue, and therefore they might just go right instead. Who knows? Yeah, SuperCoach, man.
Love a wait and see. I feel, I don't know. Jermaine Asarko's, he's an interesting one for a sell this week for me.
Yep.
And I'm glad I got your thoughts on it, just purely because, they don't go right. A few seasons ago, he was, the aerial specialist.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't even kick the ball anymore. Herbie Farnworth is absolutely destructive on the left center. And why wouldn't you go that way every single time?
100%. Just tackle breaks. He's unable to, you can't stop him from offloading as well. There's so much second plays happening because of that. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we'll talk about trades in a moment, but we'll quickly talk fullbacks for the run home before we go trades. Obviously, I reckon most teams, Andy, would have Teddy, Drinky, Pappy, Turbo, JC, even maybe Guffo as a combination of those three. Like, do you think that combination, is a will be the one, will be, that pool of players we're going to just pick from those, or, there's a couple of fullbacks who are coming off Origin in the next week or so. I'll list three of them, the main ones, and then you tell me if you think any of these guys are worth it for the run home and who you trade out for. Dylan Edwards, he's 647k. He's down 191k from his starting price, and he's had a 3-game average of 81. Penrith, I think, I'm pretty sure most NRL fans are pretty upset that they've literally just hit premiership form all of a sudden out of nowhere. They listen to this draw that they have in the next 5 rounds. Para, Souths, West Tigers, Titans, and Newcastle, literally the bottom 5 teams in the competition. They play all 5 of them in the next 5 rounds, essentially. Latrell Mitchell, he's 644k. He's got a 3-game average of 75. Obviously, we're a little bit concerned about that they don't have Cody Walker and Jaden Sullivan, who broke his leg. I know that you have Cody Walker, Andy, in your draft. Put me up if you want Sam Walker.
Yeah, well, I did offer you Jeremy Marshall King for Sam Walker. I'm not sure if you saw that last week, but I cancelled that.
Oh, did you? Oh, you gave me Grant Anderson. I said, get out of here a few weeks ago. Maybe I should take that up. Yeah. I think I've got Sam Verrills at my hooker position. It's awful. It's awful.
I knew you needed one. I had Donahue, so
hey, trade me back up again.
No, that's
Maybe
right.
I should just buy Donahue. I'll just put a waiver on from Kurt Donahue this week.
No, I
Um,
already got him.
go back to Latrell Mitchell. He's matchup proof, but he has a couple of hard draw. Has a hard draw. He's got the bye in round 19, and he's got Penrith Sharks and Broncos. And then finally, Reece Walsh, who we talked about earlier, he's 644K. So everybody's about the same price here. He's got a free game average of 80. He plays Gold Coast next week, and then Para and Souths. And then obviously he plays Melbourne, I think, twice at some point in the before now in round 27 as well. Do you like any of Edwards, Mitchell, or Walsh, Andy?
Look, I think, Edwards, he proved, last season that he was an absolute gun, and he doesn't need Cleary, and he actually thrives without Cleary. It will be interesting to see if he's rested after the bye, and I guess if he's rested, does he make it a better bye, or does it make a worse bye? Because now you've only got 4 matchups, and do you keep him for the whole season? I definitely think he is a keepable fullback. He will be on the radar. He's dirt cheap at 647, and got a couple of really good matchups. Was he goal kicking last
He was
week?
skewed a little bit last week because he was goal kicking because Cleary didn't. Yeah. But I think he scored 4 points from goal kicking because what was the end result? Was it like 8-6 or something?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
So I think he's definitely a good look in for a potential buy. And exactly the same with like Latrell Mitchell. He has that ability to go absolutely monstrous, and he's a proven gun. Tough couple of matchups with Panthers and Sharks, I think. But, Broncos, and then round 23, Gold Coast, Paris, and George, Sydney. You can definitely make an argument for buying him,
Or would
but
you wait afterwards after he plays the Broncos and then jump on Latrell?
see, Broncos are tough because like most teams this season, there's no good matchups. It can really just be how everyone turns up that week. Who put in the prep, who put in the effort to, train, and who read their match draw, who knows what weaknesses the other team has. Everyone's just on this year. So I think Latrell and South can definitely give a bit of an upset to the Broncos any day of the week. Who else? Reece Walsh. Who has he got? For me, Titans, Para. Far out.
And then South too.
Yeah, these are all really great matchups.
Yeah.
You could argue buying any of these fullbacks. Matchups there, proven guns. Reece Walsh somehow only scored a 62 last week. I didn't actually catch the game. How do you think he looked?
I thought he looked awesome, absolutely awesome last week. I was like, he was. Oh, there was a few. There was this one where I haven't seen him do this. Where he absolutely just stepped. I think I can't remember who was Aaron Clark and left him for dead. It just so happened that somebody, was it CNK or somebody just tackled him in the in goal or something that kept him up or something like that. It was crazy. I was like, dude, put this guy in Origin, really. And then obviously, I think that was before Hammer scored 4 tries or something like that. It was, yeah. And then, he had that try assist as well to Shiva. He's been great. His passing game's been great these last few weeks. I think he's found all his form back, really. I'll put it this way then, Andy. If money is no option and you can have any 3 guys to finish off the season, who are you picking? Who would you like to? Are you going to keep Pappy and Teddy and Turbo?
I don't have Turbo. No, traded him out.
Yep.
And then, scored a 75 last week. Good on him. Really happy for all the Turbo holders. Currently, I have Tedesco and Pappy and Jaden Campbell, who unfortunately is still on a HIA, which is a bit strange. I thought he was out last week. So,
he's not playing this week because the Titans are on the bye.
Oh, that's true. That makes a lot of sense.
There's relief for you, Andy, this week.
Yeah. So he'll move. So Jaden Campbell will move into my 5'8",
Yep.
and Metcalf will get traded. So that will leave me about 600 ish from Metcalf.
Yeah.
Ideally, I can afford anyone, which is a nice position for me.
Yeah.
I think I missed the Drinkwater boat. I think his matchups are a bit tough,
Yeah.
especially the next 2-3 rounds. So Melbourne this round, which it could go either way.
He scored 105 a few weeks ago at Amy Park. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which this could be the revenge tour for Melbourne. You saw what they did to Sharks. Just last week they got absolutely decimated at Shark Park and turned around and got the win back on them. Feel like that was always going to happen. Followed by the Bulldogs, followed by the Dolphins. I mean, Dolphins. They just look really good, and they absolutely decimated them last time. I think I would love to have already had Drinkwater, but I don't think he's a buy.
Yeah.
Who else? And then I think it really just comes down to who do you have your most faith in? For Dylan Edwards, I think he had a good round. Does this mean the Panthers are back? Who knows? I'm hoping they're not, because I would love to go to a grand final without Penrith in it. It definitely can still happen. Reece Walsh coming off a bit of an injury as well. For me, kind of like I'm wanting to go. Yeah, it's really hard to say.
Yep. Well, for what it's worth, I'll just tell listeners what I think. I think Teddy's a season keeper. I just don't think Pappy is a season keeper. As much as you said that, all the ball goes through him. Last week, not at all. It all went through Jerome Hughes and Eli Katoa, and Pappy was nowhere to be seen. I think he's a trade out for sure. I reckon I'd like to get Dylan Edwards in round 19, and then I'm probably going to trade him out when his draw gets tough, and I'll get him Mitchell in when he gets a really good matchup, in about round 23 or 22 or 24 or so. And then I think it's not the right move. I don't think Drinky's a keeper. And, but, as I said, I'm going to keep Drinky for sure because I love him. He's my favorite player. Drinky.
Ride or die.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's Drinky or Stinky. Hopefully more Drinky than Stinky, but
yeah.
Anyways, we'll go to trades. Yeah. This week I'm considering 0. Like I said, I've got eight trades left. I don't have enough trades. The players I want to nuff out this week, Dewey, Sandon Smith, I've got to count on their scores this week. And unless one of my players absolutely shits the bed, looking at you, Billy Smith, I think I might not trade this week. Yeah. What about you, Andy?
Look, I have some injuries to contend with. Currently, am looking at Bradley, and the other one is Preston.
Yep.
With Galore getting the duel, I'm considering trading Tino out and moving Galore up into the front row and bringing Preston in to really kind of round out my 2RF. I had him before. I had him for like 1 week before his injury. He went pretty well, and then I just wanted him back. I think he's such a great player, explosive, and it's a really good looking Dogs team. So for me, Preston Bradley frees up funds and gets a gun that I want.
No, I like it. I actually think the Tino trade is actually really, really smart. I just refuse to do it because he's like dropped so much money, too much cash. And as a result, I'm like, it's a sunken cost fallacy, I've lost too much money. I need him to go back up before I can trade him, but I just know he's going to score poorly. That sternum injury, apparently he's okay now, but I really don't believe that until that, somebody actually says he's okay, or he says it himself really. So I do really like that. Yeah. I reckon you could be in for a big week this week, especially if Preston goes big. Yeah. And then finally we'll talk captains. You want to go first this time? Who are you thinking of captaining? VC and captain. You don't have to go for everybody. Just go for who you're doing really. And then explain it briefly.
Right. In order, I'm thinking BC Paps into Teddy.
Yep.
I mean, I almost think it's self-explanatory. I think, no Munster leaves, one person scoringless down. Lot more ball probably comes through Pappenhausen. I think he's due for another big one. As I said before, also a bit of a revenge tour for the Storm, going up to Queensland and trying to get one up on the Cowboys with a decimated side as well. So I think they can hopefully get a win and perhaps get a lot of points. So that's my VC, and then Tedesco as well. Also, absolutely obliterated West Tigers squad. I think, it's
Yeah, that
they can
makes
only
sense.
be two. What
Yeah.
about yourself?
Um, very similar to you. I'm going to go Jerome Hughes instead of Pappy. Either that or just go Drinky as a VC. and then it's the Captain Teddy. Really, yeah, yeah. He'll go 3 digits. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
I
jinxed
would
him
say
now.
Tedesco would have to be the most captained of the round.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't. To listeners, I definitely wouldn't overthink it. The main thing is, as long as you see Teddy, if it so happens that you go big with whoever your VCE, it's a free loop. Brilliant, take it. But make sure if you can, if you've got Teddy, make sure he's your C. Is what I would say to listeners out there. And really, that's pretty much everything. Everything we've wrapped up in 51 minutes, Andy.
Efficient.
Yeah,
Two man,
I
two
like
man
it.
squad. I think it's very efficient.
Yeah. Hey, it was a pleasure for having you here. Hopefully we'll see you more often.
That's
Thank
right.
you very
Thanks
much.
for having me and letting me come on and ramble a bit about my non-coherent thoughts about what I need to be doing with my team.
Yeah. Now, also speaking of that, now I thought about it. I would like to just amend and make it a correction. Not financial advice that Andy said today. I realized that none of us have a financial degree. Anyways, love you, listeners. Ryan and Jakey will be back next week, hopefully. Like and subscribe once again. Yes, on TikTok. Happy Super Coaching, everybody. See you guys next week.